Aaftab Poonawalla, accused of murdering Shraddha Walkar, apparently dated several women after killing Shraddha. He even got them home to stay with him while her body was in that refrigerator. He cut her body in pieces, packed them in black polythene bags and then stored the body parts in the freezer of that 300-litre fridge that he bought. Police insist he is remorseless. A doctor, incidentally, who had earlier examined him, had a similar view of the accused. I'm Gaurav Sawant. We will get to the latest developments, including efforts to trace some of his earlier women friends to know more about him and whether there is a pattern to his behavior and this toxic, abusive relationship that Shraddha confided in her friends about. But first, as always, the headlines. It's the most chilling murder in recent times. After killing Shraddha, Aaftab dated another girl, even got her to his house when her body pieces were in the refrigerator. Police claim he carried out the killing taking inspiration from crime series Dexter. FIR filed against two doctors in a Chennai hospital who conducted a botched up surgery on a 17-year-old footballer, which in turn led to her unfortunate death. No end to pothole killings in Bengaluru. A 55-year-old was run over by a tractor after his motorcycle skid and he fell on the road, coming under the wheels of the tractor. Relief for actor Jacqueline Fernandez in the 200 crore Sukesh Chandrasekhar extortion case. Court grants Jacqueline Fernandez bail on a personal bond of 2 lakh rupees.
Jacqueline, do you have anything to say? You've gotten bail, but you have to face the trial now. Jacqueline, do you have anything to say?
Prime Minister Narendra Modi and the Chinese President Xi Jinping come face to face at the G20 gala dinner, exchange the first handshake since the Galwan clash of 2020. Prime Minister Narendra Modi and the Chinese President Xi Jinping shook hands at a G20 Summit gala dinner in Bali. These images have gone viral since this is the first handshake since the Galwan clash of 2020, when 20 Indian braves made the supreme sacrifice of their lives, pushing back Chinese soldiers in eastern Ladakh. Prime Minister Narendra Modi and the Chinese President Xi Jinping were also at the Shanghai Cooperation Organization Summit at Samarkand, Uzbekistan, but had maintained distance there. Chinese Foreign Minister Wang Yi had come to India earlier, but he returned empty-handed. Is there forward movement? Is there a thaw in ties between India and China, or was this just a courtesy? Let me quickly cut across to Bali for more on the story. I want to bring into this conversation India Today's Foreign Affairs editor Geeta Mohan for more on this development. Also with me is Ambassador Ashok Sajjanhar, keeps a hawk eye on developments between India and China. But Geeta, to you first. Is this just a courtesy, just a handshake, or is there some forward movement?
Well, the fact that the two leaders did not meet at the SCO summit in Samarkand, Uzbekistan, Gaurav, says a lot about the meeting today. The Chinese president moved towards the table where President Joko Widodo was sitting, and he was sitting right beside Prime Minister Narendra Modi. So it just so happened that they came together. They were in the same space. But yes, there was an intent because Chinese President Xi Jinping moved forward and Prime Minister Narendra Modi also moved forward, and then you can see them reach out to each other in terms of a handshake. The handshake took place, and yes, there was a conversation that followed. External Affairs Minister Dr. Jaishankar was present at that at the meeting that took place, an informal meeting. The body language and the smiles tell you that the atmosphere in which the conversation was carried out was quite cordial. But like you rightly pointed out, there are tensions between India and China. This is the worst in terms of ties between the two countries that we've seen in many, many years. And in terms of forward movement, again, we'll have to wait and see whether there's going to be forward movement. There still are tensions at the border, but like many people, and including most of the China watchers have been saying, that there are military and diplomatic level talks, Gaurav, but there needs to be political engagement at the highest level to ensure de-escalation and absolute disengagement.
Stay with me for a moment, Geeta. Let me also bring in Ambassador Sajjanhar into this conversation. Ambassador, you've looked at these pictures. Are these just pleasantries exchanged, or is there a thaw in ties in sight?
Thank you very much, Gaurav. The way I look at it is that, India takes over the presidency of G20. It is formally going to be handed over to India tomorrow, although it becomes effective from the 1st of December. And for the next 1 year, India is going to be at the helm of affairs there. India, as you know, you referred to it, there was the Samarkand SCO Summit in September. And India is the chair this year of SCO also. So these are two major multilateral organizations which India is going to be chairing. And China is a member of both of these. And, yes, I was speaking, before this meeting had taken place, I was speaking on another channel this morning. And I said that while there should not be, and this is what I had maintained even for Samarkand, a structured, organized meeting on the sidelines of the G20 between the two leaders. But I said that exchange of pleasantries and a shake hand, during the dinner or when they are in the meeting room, that would not be, something bad. It is something desirable. Because if, China is an important member both of G20 and of SCO. Yes. And if India has to host all the leaders next year, in June for the SCO Summit and in September for the G20, then at least there has to be, some basic level of civility and a good equation between the two leaders at the top level. Because, even in G20, Gaurav, we need to recognize that we have arranged 200 meetings over the year. Yes. And these are at different levels, whether it is at official or ministerial. And there are a large number of these groups, what are known as T20s, think tanks, sure. G20s, businessmen of all these countries. No, so the stature grows, but the fact also remains, that China is a transgressor. The fact also remains that China has amassed soldiers at our borders, and Geeta, China refuses to step back at least from some of the friction points. There is a buffer zone in others, but do we see any forward movement? There have been multiple rounds of talks, both at the level of co-commanders and diplomatically at the level of our diplomats.
Well, there certainly is forward movement, but in terms of Chinese position and China's aggression or assertiveness in the region, there hasn't been a let up. We have seen the Chinese aggression in the region continue. There are certain areas where China is absolutely riled, Taiwan being one certainly, and the continuous and continued engagement of not just India but the United States of America, West and the allies in the entire region is something that really has riled China. So Gaurav, we'll again have to wait and see how this moves forward. For now, they're saying, sources telling India today that these were only pleasantries that were exchanged. Okay. But if we look at the larger picture in the video, the conversation that the two leaders had could be a little more than just basic pleasantries. Again, we'll have to wait to hear from officials as to what really transpired between the two leaders. But leadership level engagement between India and China was much needed, Gaurav, to take things forward and show that political intent, the intent to really bring the tempers down.
Sure. So there is political intent. Ambassador Sajjanhar, is that also your reading? Intent on both sides to bring tempers down, but India's red line, transgressions or salami slicing of Indian territory is completely unacceptable. Are we still looking at restoration of April 2020 scenario, or have we also moved so many soldiers, we've also built additional infrastructure that we are looking at some kind of an agreement at the borders and not really reduction of own troops or infrastructure?
No, absolutely. 2 points here, Gaurav. One is that there are still two friction points, whether it is Depsang and Demchok. These are the two areas where disengagement yet has to take place, and after that de-escalation, removal of the troops. So, till that happens, I think the preparation on both, definitely on our side of the border, will continue to stay as it is. 50,000+ troops are there. So I think what we have seen today, it was much needed. Both the leaders have at least, broken that ice, created a bit of a thaw, so that at the official and ministerial level, we can have normal engagement, we can have normal exchange of delegations both sides. So I think this makes the, leaves the way open for the G20 meetings, etc., to go on unimpeded by this, whatever is
fair enough.
on the
we
borders.
will continue to track developments on the story
continue to be there
very closely. Ambassador Sajjan Har and Geeta Mohan for joining me here. Many thanks. Shifting focus to our top story, investigations now reveal that Shraddha was in a toxic and abusive relationship and at times desperate to get out. A school friend of hers has told the police of a conversation the two had after a terrible fight that Shraddha had with Aaftab Poonawala, where she feared he would kill her if she spent another day with him. Though her friends insist they warned Aaftab and he apologized, but sadly her fears did come true. Police now accuse Aaftab of having killed Shraddha. Our crime bureau brings you this report.
Shraddha Walker feared for her life. She confided in friends, saying she was in an abusive relationship. Her relationship with Aaftab changed completely once she left home. Aaftab was not only suspicious but also very aggressive.
एक बार ऐसा भी झगड़ा हुआ था जब उसने मुझे व्हाट्सएप पे ऐसा मैसेज करके बोला कि प्लीज यहाँ मेरे घर पे आ जा, मुझे बाहर लेके जा, अगर आज रात को मैं इसके साथ घर पे रही तो ये मुझे मार डालेगा. ऐसा भी झगड़ा हुआ है उनके बीच में.
Her friends recall after being assaulted, Shraddha called up a friend asking him to rescue her. She said she wanted to leave immediately or Aaftab would kill her. In fact, her friends not only rescued her but also warned Aaftab not to hit her.
The surprising thing is, in spite this toxic relationship, in spite Shraddha herself wanting to get out of this, she was unable to. I think there was something very, very, very big brewing inside that we are not informed about.
According to her friends, Aaftab apologized for having assaulted Shraddha and she forgave him. However, source of tension between the two remained. Police officials privy to investigations say Aaftab continued to keep in touch with other women on a dating app on his mobile phone, and this angered Shraddha. But was that the trigger for the latest fight? And her murder remains the subject of investigation. With Arvind Ojha in Delhi, Bureau Report, India Today.
I quickly want to cut across to India Today's Arvind Ojha for more on the story. Arvind, अभी तक पुलिस ने कई तरह के दावे किए हैं, लेकिन अदालत सबूत देखती है कि क्या वो श्रद्धा को उसने मारा तो कैसे मारा, किस हथियार का इस्तेमाल किया, उसका शव कहां है या शव के टुकड़े कहां है, डीएनए मिलाप हुआ या नहीं हुआ, जांच अभी किस दिशा में आगे बढ़ रही है?
देखिए गौरव, आपने बिल्कुल सही कहा कि जो अदालत है वो एविडेंस मांगती है, वो कहानियों पर नहीं जाती है। और अगर आज के लेटेस्ट इन्वेस्टिगेशन के डेवलपमेंट की बात करें तो आज सुबह आफ्ताब को लेकर फॉरेस्ट एरिया में दिल्ली पुलिस की टीम गई थी। तकरीबन 3 घंटे से ज्यादा वक्त तक सर्च ऑपरेशन चलाया गया, लेकिन निराशा हाथ लगी दिल्ली पुलिस के बाद। लेकिन अभी जो लेटेस्ट ब्रेकिंग न्यूज है, इंडिया टुडे को जो सोर्सेस से जानकारी मिली है कि अब इस पूरे केस की जो जांच है, जो इन्वेस्टिगेशन है, उसको ज्वाइंट कमिश्नर लेवल रैंक के जो ऑफिसर है वो लीड कर रहे हैं। मेहरौली पुलिस स्टेशन में कुल 5 ऑफिसर्स ने आफ्ताब से पूछताछ की तकरीबन 3 घंटे तक। पुलिस के जो सीनियर ऑफिशियल है उनका ये कहना है कि जो आफ्ताब है वो कहीं ना कहीं इन्वेस्टिगेशन में मिसलीड कर रहा है, पूरा सच नहीं बता रहा है। और शायद यही वजह है कि जो बॉडी पार्ट्स है वो अभी पूरी तरह से रिकवर नहीं हो पाया है, नंबर 1। नंबर 2, श्रद्धा का मोबाइल फोन जो उसने कहा कि वो महाराष्ट्र में कहीं उसने फेंक दिया, वो रिकवर नहीं हो पाया है। वेपन्स जिससे बॉडी को चॉप किया वो रिकवर नहीं हो पाया है। तो ये वो चैलेंज है पुलिस के सामने। जब तक ये तमाम चीजें रिकवर नहीं होती, जिस तरीके से उसने एक्सेप्ट किया है, कबूल किया है कि किस तरीके से उसने हत्या की, उसके बाद बॉडी चॉप की, तो उस कबूलनामे के साथ साथ उस एविडेंस को कॉर्रोबोरेट भी करना पड़ेगा, तब जाकर ये इन्वेस्टिगेशन कंप्लीट हो पाएगी।
इस बड़ी खबर पर आप नजर रखिए। ताजा जानकारी के लिए फिर मैं आपके पास लौटूंगा। अरविंद, फिलहाल धन्यवाद। एनी कन्फेशन मेड बिफोर द पुलिस इज इनएडमिसिबल एज एविडेंस इन अ कोर्ट ऑफ लॉ अनलेस backed by corroborative evidence. Now, India today continues to dig deeper in connection with Shraddha's gruesome murder. This murder that has shocked the country. Now, the accused, Aaftab, according to the police, he remorselessly dated other women after murdering Shraddha. He continued to keep her social media profile active. There are many other disturbing aspects of this investigation that have emerged. Shreya Chatterjee and Arvind Ojha with this report.
Chopped her into 35 pieces. Googled ways to clean blood. Read about human anatomy. Brought date home while Shraddha's body was refrigerated. More disturbing details have emerged about how 28-year-old Aaftab Amin Poonawala killed his live-in partner, 27-year-old Shraddha Walkar. Police sources tell India Today that Aaftab was inspired by the American crime thriller Dexter. He read about human anatomy after butchering Shraddha. He used acid to wipe off blood from the apartment. Even the fridge where Shraddha's dismembered body was frozen for close to 20 days was spotless. He even kept the body in the kitchen and his cupboard. Days after strangling his girlfriend and cutting up her body with a saw, Aaftab became active on dating app Bumble. He dated another girl in the time between the murder and his arrest. He even brought her to the same apartment in Chhatarpur, while parts of Shraddha's body were stored in his fridge. Police sources say he would often look at Shraddha's severed head that was kept in his fridge to look at her face. A food blogger turned F&B consultant and a photographer. Aaftab's last post on his Instagram handle was on 2nd February. He even impersonated Shraddha on social media for at least a month after murdering her. Shraddha's friend says it was a toxic, abusive relationship.
Shraddha shared this with her best friend that, Aaftab is being violent to her. He beats her up. Shraddha, who messaged his childhood friend, Lakshmi, that, Lakshmi, please, take me out of this place because if I stay here for this night, I think Aaftab might take my life.
A neighbor who met Aaftab in October, 5 months after Shraddha's killing, recalls how Aaftab asked him not to disturb him.
अक्टूबर महीने में आए थे यहाँ, और मैंने मतलब फर्स्ट डे मैं आया तो बेल बजाया, उसने गेट खोला और मुझे पता नहीं था क्या नाम है उसका। हमारे रूम भाई नहीं थे यहाँ पे, तो उसने खोल दिया। हाँ, उसने बोला था कि भैया मेरा बेल नहीं बजाना बस।
Love, death and gore, Aaftab is now being called Delhi's own Dharma.
At least 10 pieces of Shraddha's body parts have been recovered from this very forest. Investigators say that Aaftab kept changing his statements. He confessed to his grisly crime, but the Delhi police would need something more than a confession to nail Aaftab for this horrific incident that he's committed. With video journalist Abhishek, this is Shraddha Chatterjee for India Today.
So the Delhi police are trying not just to recreate the crime scene, but also revisit the sites where accused Aaftab Amin claims he had thrown chopped pieces of Shraddha's body. Delhi police personnel took Aaftab to the forested area near Mehrauli and Chhatarpur. Some bones have been recovered. These bones have now been sent for forensic examination for a DNA match. Shraddha Chatterjee with this report.
A gruesome and gut-wrenching murder saga. A young woman butchered, dismembered, and body parts stored in fridge and then strewn across Delhi. And now, ghastly search for 35 chopped pieces, including the missing skull of Shraddha. Delhi police dragged murderer Aaftab Poonawalla to the forest near Delhi's Chhatarpur to recover scattered sliced body parts of his living partner. It was a painstaking bid to look for body parts.
Now Aaftab is here. He is inside the very area where I'm standing right now, and the Delhi police is conducting the search operation to retrieve those body parts that we were talking about. 35 pieces is what Aaftab chopped Shraddha's body. He used a saw. That saw is yet to be retrieved.
While recreating the crime scene, the police found 10 pieces of human remains. Cops will run a DNA match with her father to confirm whether the remains are from her body.
लिविंग में थे ये लोग 2019 से, तो इनके ऑफ लेट काफी झगड़े बढ़ते चले गए थे। उसने अपने आपा खोया, लड़की गला लगाया और बॉडी डिस्पोज करने के लिए कुछ पार्ट्स कट किए। एग्जैक्ट पार्ट्स कितने थे, क्या थे, दिस इज येट टू बी वेरीफाइड। कुल फोरेंसिक से काफी लगेगा। हम लोग साइंटिफिकली प्रोसीड करना चाह रहे हैं, बिकॉज काफी टाइम लैप्स हो चुका है। एविडेंसेस विल बी टफ टू कलेक्ट, बट हम पूरे एफर्ट्स मार रहे हैं। चीजें डिजिटली, फोरेंसिकली, आई विटनेस लिंक करेंगे इसमें।
Aaftab Amin Poonawalla, who killed his live-in girlfriend in May, is on 24/7 watch in lockup. CCTV footage showed the 28-year-old lying down in the cell that he shares with another prisoner at Delhi's Mehrauli police station. Aaftab had used chemicals like sulfuric acid to wash floor, clean blood stains and remove DNA from the crime scene. Traces of the chemicals he used have been found by the Delhi police. Cops have even seized Aaftab's phone and laptop to analyze his everyday activities. Cops are now hunting for the saw used by Aaftab to sever Shraddha's body. Search is also underway to trace Shraddha's skull. With Shraddha Chatterjee and Akshay Dongre in Delhi, Bureau Report, India Today.